Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee on the 14th of March. It's about 8:15 in the morning. I'm early. I fell asleep real early last night, so I woke up very early because I was all slept out. So I thought I would do the broadcast on the early side. What we're going to cover today is more current events with Bible prophecy, discuss the beast versus the whore, and the beast is obviously advocating for war and violence, and because the beast, destroys the whore, burns her up and eats her flesh, and um, the whore is trying for peace, trying for the same old false religions, which is churchianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, all of that, atheism, Satan Church, and all this stuff, which America and Europe seems to support all of these, you shall have no other gods before you. Well, they don't follow that, do they? And the whore wants peace, wants to make things continue the way they are and have more consumer goods and bigger houses and things like that. Gold did hit 3,000, and I think it went to $3,001. And a little while ago, it was at 29.84. Now, this is a very big development because it hit the 3,000, and then certain entities, I don't know exactly who it was, I doubt it was America, push it back down. They manipulate gold prices. If they can't control it or rig it or fix it, they don't have it. Okay? So they push it back down, but it'll go back up again. And a lot of people think this is a sign of a war coming. They might be right. I think there is wars coming, but I don't think it's based on the gold. It's based on Bible prophecy. But anyway, as I told you some weeks ago, Trump has a digital currency he's going to bring out, not a personal one, but American digital currency. And he wants to get the gold up. And then when the gold is up, he'll audit. I think he's going to wait until then to audit Fort Knox. I'm sure they know what's in Fort Knox, or also know what they're going to tell the people is in Fort Knox. Now, if there really is no gold in Fort Knox, I think it'll just die off. It won't go anywhere. It'll just fall away. But we need to see what happens, okay? Why it takes so long to send a few guys in there to audit the gold is a mystery to me. It shouldn't. Fort Knox, as you know, is a military base, and Trump is the commander in chief of the military. So whoever, was in the past issued some orders about keeping it secret and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean anything. Trump could just say, no, open it up. Elon's going, I'm going, and we're bringing 50 people with us. That's it. Trump's latest, which is rather hard to digest the implications of this, is that he's talking about ending income tax for anybody making less than $150,000 a year. Now, this would be a major boost in the economy. Just being conservative, say somebody making $100,000 a year is probably paying 20% taxes because there's deductions and things like this, right? So they're getting another $20,000 a year. That's a big thing. Now I'm hearing the money going to people from the DOGE type thing. Now I'm hearing they're going to send a $725 check, and I'm also hearing up to $5,000 check. So who the heck knows what they're going to do? Do I really think they're going to do something? Yeah. The amount of fraud on Social Security was in the many millions of people. Now, they're going to try to get the money back from these people ripping off Social Security, but the chances of that, I mean, they'll find some, I'm sure, you know. One of the easy ways to rip off Social Security would be if you had a relative that lived with you that was old and sick and they passed. You just keep collecting the checks, or the money goes into the bank account and they use the debit card from the bank account to go to the ATM machine and take the money out. And these people aren't going to have any of that money. But I mean, people got away with this year after year after year. I think they cross reference death certificates with this. That's what I think they do. But, you know, there's so many millions of people. They got people that are, you know, millions and millions of people over 100 years old collecting Social Security. That's ridiculous. I mean, I could see 2 or 3,000 or 10,000 people at 100 or something like that, but not many millions. And they got people, you know, over 110 in the millions, over 120 years old, and, you know, in the millions, in huge numbers. I'm not entirely sure how they did the fraud. Probably pulling birth certificates from people, or going to graveyards and getting records, or perhaps going to dead relatives and filing for Social Security, or I don't know exactly how they did it, but they would need a birth certificate, so they probably were looking for people that died. If they died as a child, it wouldn't help them because they wouldn't get Social Security. So they probably looked for people. I don't know. Really, I don't know how they did it. I am at a loss. It sounds, I mean, it must have been highly organized, you know, because you go and you pull a birth certificate for somebody that died in, you know, 1988. How come they're reapplying for Social Security? What happened? You know, it would be suspicious, don't you think? They didn't collect Social Security for 12 years. Now they're 97 years old and they want to start filing again. What is this? And what about death certificates? See, it's just weird. So could they find people that had a birth certificate and not a death certificate for some reason, and also were able to get Social Security? I don't see it. I have a good head for this, and I don't know how they did it. Okay, but it does seem really weird, and they're not telling us if these people are focused in any particular cities. If these people are focused, like the group is certain race or religion or geography or something like that. We don't know what, or maybe it's just completely random, but it's just too bizarre. So they're going to, I mean, I think they already have, they're just going to go start terminating these people with Social Security, probably cut them off and see who. I don't know what they're going to do. You know, it's not fair because you could have somebody 97 years old and you cut them off and they're so far gone, health wise, they don't know they were cut off, you know. So I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure they can cross reference death certificates conscientiously and get rid of a lot of it. You know, I don't think you could just, if somebody dies in the house, I'm in most parts of America, I don't think you could just call the funeral parlor and have them come pick the body up and have a burial. I think they want a death certificate. I'm not sure. Maybe in some states it's not required, and that's how they did it. So they had relatives that died, no death certificate. And that's it. But I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances on this. They got coroner reports and things like that. They don't want people killing an elderly relative and then just sending them to the funeral parlor with no concerns as to what happened. The death certificate involves cause of death. So this is pretty weird. Like in Israel, a lot of older people get what we call in Hebrew a metapelet. Somebody typically from another country that comes here and gets qualified and they work at the home. Israel is rather socialist and they prefer to keep the person in their home with a live-in 24/7 to take care of them rather than ship them off to a home. Now, in some cases, I don't think that works because the people can't afford to pay the rent and they can't afford to pay utilities, and the government may get them the metapellet, but they can't maintain the house. So we had a woman next door to us. She died at 97 a year or two ago. And she was in bad shape, and she had to live in Pellet for many years from the Philippines. And the woman died at home, and what they do when that happens, and the person dies with a metapellet taking care of them, they conduct an investigation. The body goes for an autopsy, and they try to understand why the person died. Most of the time, probably 99.8% of the time, it's the person was on a lot of meds and very sick, and they do some sort of autopsy to figure it out. They probably look at the body for bruises, puncture wounds. Maybe they do a tox screen. I don't know. There's really not a lot of motivation for a metapellet to kill the person because then they lose their job, and then they have about 30 days to leave the country unless they can get another position, I believe. And there's agencies that try to place them and things like this. And then they have partial support. So they might have a metapellet come to the house 3 times a week for 4 or 5 hours and just do the cleaning. And then they have other things. You could get Meals on Wheels type of thing where they'll send somebody to your house, usually in the morning, and I think they have an insulated box, and they bring food for the day, cooked food, and you eat that, and you got enough for the day, and then the next day they come and they take that container back and they bring a new container with food or something to that effect. So you can get that also. So they have all different ways, but people that have dementia or senility or Alzheimer's need somebody with them 24/7. So they have that. Some people may not be able to cook. They may turn the flame on the stove on and forget to start a fire. They don't shop. There's different levels of it. The woman that lived next door, she had a house that I think she might have paid off from her husband, and so she didn't have any problem supporting it. I don't know what her situation is. She had a pension, or I don't know. So, but this does go on, and it goes on a temporary basis. If somebody has an accident, and for 6 months or a year or 2 months they can't take care of themselves, they send a pellet, and but they're pretty high on to get the live-in, or really to get any metapellet. They want to see that you can't get out of bed and get dressed. You can't go to the bathroom by yourself. You can't take a shower by yourself. And you can't do your food and stuff like that. And that's how they usually do it, you know. So they're usually reserving it for people. Now, if you have Alzheimer's, you can get out of bed and you could cook and you could do all this other stuff, but you go in and out. So they don't want you to go out and think it's, 25 years ago and you got to go to work and you get dressed and go out and try to find your place of work, get lost in the street, and then this sort of thing goes on, So they got all different varieties of this. They have it for blind people, and they'll train the person to get a dog, and they'll pay for the seeing eye dog if the person wants it and they're not too old. If they're old, they can't really handle the dog. And they probably send a metapellet to the house to, a few hours a day, maybe 2 hours a day, to cook a meal for them, clean the house up, or 3 hours or 4 hours, and all different kinds of things. Israel has a lot of social support system. You have people that are wounded in war in the army, and the government used to do this. I think they still do. They buy them a car every 4 years or 3 years or something like that. They get them a car. All different things here. I don't know all of it, but anyway. Let me go into the live stream and see what's going on there, and then put my posts up and we'll get started. Let's see. First, we want to make sure we got a live stream, which it looks like we have a live stream. Let's see. First, well, we got sound and picture. Let's see. We got a post here. Gold is the only currency that holds up to the dollar. Well, gold's not a currency. See, it's a precious metal. They used to mint coins, but they would mint what was called the double eagle, a $20 gold piece, which is about an ounce of 22 to 24% gold. And you don't do that anymore because the values of gold are so high and fluctuating. So when they were doing that, an ounce of gold was $20. Okay. When I was a kid, we still had silver dollars, so it was an ounce of silver. I don't remember the purity, 0.93 or something like that. It was pretty high, and it was worth $1. I'm not old enough for gold, but yeah, it's you can't, if they valued it now, they'd have to mint the $3,000 coin, and that's kind of silly. Or they'd mint very small ones, like a tenth of an ounce. That's $300. It's they're not doing it right now. No country does it. I think Switzerland was the last one to go in the late 80s. They had a gold coin, but they wanted to get rid of this, and all the nations got rid of it. All right, let me get my posts up and we'll get going. But it's very profound that gold did hit 3,000. If any of you are trying to do an offering through PayPal and they're turning you down, please let me know. Somebody had an unusual experience with them, but I have no notices from them that I'm under restriction or anything like that. So let me know if you're having any difficulty, then I need to talk to them. But I don't think it's going on. But let me know if you did get turned down. I have another system I'm getting ready to start using. It's Israel based, but they take international credit cards and stuff. I may start adding that in. If I hear more stories of people getting turned down, then I'm going to have to do that. But I don't think there's a problem. Sometimes they don't like the way the charge came from the person. Is something in their profile they're not happy about or something. I don't know. All right. Let me get my email address up and we'll go get started. You can send in toss requests. You could send in prayer requests. You can do it on email. You can put it in the chat, whatever you want. Just give me the two initials of the person you want the prayer or the toss for. The Lord will know who they are. And that keeps things more private. Almost done. Let me just pin this up and then we'll get going. Okay, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So we could talk about Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine just hit another Russian oil refinery. I mean, this guy, Zelensky, is probably getting close to 30% of Russia's oil refineries destroyed. I'm sure it's in the 20s, 20-something percent by now. That's a big hit for Putin. So they were having ceasefire talks again, and Putin was saying, I am, in favor of discussing things with Trump. What he's trying to do is be cordial to Trump, but he's not going to let Trump tell him what to do. So they're basically at an impasse, and the issues are run like this. They were talking about a 30-day ceasefire, basically, with Ukraine and Russia. And then Putin was insisting that Ukraine, during this period of time, does not remilitarize. What does that mean? It means that Europe and America don't send, 15 or 25 plane loads of weapons to Poland to bring into Ukraine during the ceasefire. And they don't want Zelensky rebuilding, okay? Putin also wants no peacekeepers from any country kept in Ukraine, okay? So there's no security guarantee for Zelensky whatsoever in this thing, right? The other things that we're picking up, which I'll cover, they have quite a few obstacles in this. Right after they had these talks, which failed, Zelensky launched more drones and stuff into Russia. I don't know the damaging. I think they were headed towards Moscow. I don't know. It's very recent, so I don't know what the damage was at this point. I'm sure that got Putin mad. Putin's also talking, he wants guarantees that Zelensky's not going to join NATO or the European Union. And all these are hurdles that cannot be overcome because Zelensky doesn't want any part of this type of concessions to Russia. I'm reading my notes. So the ceasefire prospects are pretty dismal. So the war with Russia and Ukraine is going to keep continuing. We saw 2 days ago Putin show up wearing military uniform. You know, he's sending signals. The talks with Iran and America over nuclear treaties are nowhere. There's a meeting in Beijing, I think, between China and Putin, and possibly an American envoy is there too, but it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. And you got to remember that Putin has been sending scientists to Ukraine to stay there, and to Iran to stay there and help them develop their nukes. So I think the only thing Putin is doing is shining Trump on. I don't think he's really doing anything. I don't think Iran would be very interested in that. So America and Iran are really not moving towards a ceasefire, which means a war. Now, China and Taiwan have no ceasefire possibilities taking place. They're not even talking. Every time China talks is Taiwan's ours, we want to reunify. That's all you hear. And then what do you hear from North Korea? South Korea is ours, we want to reunify. So there's no peace going on with South and North Korea, nor with Japan, nor with Taiwan, nor with the Philippines, that's suffering tension from China. And Chinese ships are now starting to surround Australia like they repeatedly do with Taiwan. So where is all this peace? It's not working. Okay? It's not working. This is the big general turmoil. Now, the other areas that are in very, very tense situation right now is Hezbollah and Israel and the Lebanese government. And there's talks of making provisions for a ceasefire, but nothing is happening. The only way Israel's going to pull out of Lebanon is if the Lebanese army demilitarizes Hezbollah, allegedly just south of the Litani River, which is about 17 miles from the Israel border, and this has not yet happened. And we continually, a few days a week, strike military targets in Lebanon pertaining to Hezbollah. And Hezbollah does threatening moves and towards us, and we blow it up. Usually it's a missile launcher being set up or transporting missiles and missile launchers, things like this. So there's no ceasefire there. There's no ceasefire in Gaza. And Syria is continuing to massacre people in large numbers. And it's done publicly in the street on video. And they're brutalizing the people, hitting them with big sticks, making them crawl on all fours and bark like dogs, and then shooting them. Throwing the bodies in piles. It's not being secret. And it's still continuing. There's 2.4 million Alawites they want to wipe out in Syria. Now they're killing children and women. They don't want the Alawites reproducing. You kill the children because you don't want the children growing up and joining a movement against the government that killed their parents. So that's like a drug cartel thing. They kill the children because they don't want the children growing up and getting revenge against them. So this is a genocide, is all it is. It's wiping out a race of people. Now, maybe they've killed 30 or 40,000 by now, although the figures you're reading in the media are drastically lower than what you're picking up in social media if you've gone to the right places. And I don't know how many have been killed, but I suspect it's a lot more than 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. And nobody's doing anything about it, although at the UN, America and Russia seem to agree that they want to cut this stuff out in Syria. Well, Russia's using that as an entering point to get back into Syria and occupy their bases. That's why they're doing it. And they're not friendly towards HTS because HTS isn't letting them keep their bases in Syria because they were aligned with Bashar Assad, the former ruler, and they're also aligned with Iran. Which is an enemy of HTS. So the UN, to shift the blame away from HTS killing the Alawites and others, starts accusing Israel of genocide to draw the attention away from Israel. Israel's not doing genocide. They're doing genocide over there in Syria. Now, the Druze were approached by HTS and they were trying to make a deal with them, and the Druze analyzed it and said, no, this regime is too brutal. We can't make a deal with people like that. So Israel already started giving them humanitarian aid and protecting them with their military inside Syria. This is the direction it's going. They're talking about citizenship for the Druze in Syria, and they're already letting them get work permits to enter Israel and work to pick up the jobs that the Gazans were taking in Israel. We don't want them coming in here anymore. Israel and America made a press release to Associated Press and said that they have been speaking with 3 East African nations about putting the Palestinian civilians into their country. They did not say they had a positive reaction, but the way they phrased it makes me think they did. Because if it was a complete no-go, why would they tell AP about it? It's stupid. They just let it fall away and just let it die off. So they're trying to get something like that going. I doubt they will, because the blowback from the other Arab states against these African nations taking them in would be massive, and I don't think they'll do it. Okay? We have an organization here called Shin Bet or Shabak, and it's something kind of like the FBI, but it's like an FBI combined with a domestic CIA. Okay? They're not just counter intelligence or counter terrorists, they also collect positive intelligence like the CIA. So they are, the leader of the Shin Bet threatened Netanyahu openly and said that if Netanyahu doesn't do the right thing, whatever the heck that is, it might be resign or something, I don't know, that he would be revealing information that Netanyahu really doesn't want revealed. Possibly October 7th or other things. It's not that unusual for nations to have an intelligence chief or a counterintelligence or counterterrorism chief that uses his resources to collect information on politicians. J. Edgar Hoover apparently was doing that for decades. So this is not something that we've never seen or heard of before. It's just a little bit raw for Israel. We haven't really seen it get this way in Israel. I don't know where this is going to go. Netanyahu is saying that the guy's trying to blackmail him. And Netanyahu is a pretty good political infighter. And he's probably going to be okay. The Russian base, Khomeini base in Latakia, Syria, I think it's the Navy base. It could be the air base, this too, they're very close to each other, is now holding 8,000 people, Christians and Alawites, that are trying to escape from the HTS and avoid death. So Putin is trying to look good, help an oppressed people getting slaughtered, and get his bases back in Syria. I'll be right back. Now, the situation with Russia trying to get involved again in Syria is rather seriously important. And I got to do something while I talk to you. Open up a roll of paper towels. It's seriously important, and because Russia has a mutual defense treaty with Iran. The two of them are aligned rather closely. I haven't seen anybody pick this up on the media yet. I guess they haven't figured it out. So what Russia's trying to do is to create a scenario where he can go back into Syria and occupy his bases, with aircraft, Navy ships, the whole gamut, soldiers, artillery, missiles, and all the toys. I'm getting myself a pickle to eat. And he wants to go in and get back in Syria, but the real problem here, which can become very prophetic fairly immediately, is the alliance between Russia and Iran. So if Russia gets back into Syria, they're involved with mutual defense agreements with Iran and China and North Korea. What they're going to do is they're going to try to throw HTS out of Syria, and Iran will move in with Iraq. It's not hard to see it. I don't know why a lot of people haven't picked this up yet. And Iran would come in and set 15, 20,000 missiles up pointed at us near our border. And Russia would be protecting Iran. Okay? And that would shift the Middle East around in favor of Russia and Iran. Then they would start controlling the other oil-producing countries in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, UAE. Reduce oil production and raise the prices and try to collapse the West. Or, better yet, compel them to join BRICS and only trade oil not on the dollar or the euro. Even better, and collapse the dollar and the euro. Is Trump aware of this? Oh, 100%. But Trump apparently believes he can make friends with Putin. And I think all Putin is doing is playing Trump for a sucker, knowing that him and China and Iran and North Korea and Belarus and Cuba and Venezuela got to get rid of America. Trump is trying to crush BRICS and their new digital currency. And they know Trump's going to build up the military and come after them eventually, so they're, Putin's a chess player, so to speak, and he's being very coy with Trump. But he's not giving Trump what he wants. He's just playing nice with Trump, but he's not giving Trump what Trump wants in Ukraine or elsewhere. Sure, he'll go have a meeting in Beijing and, go through the motions to Iran on the surface. Oh, you got to make peace with Trump with the nuclear, But in the closed rooms, they're just going to tell him we're just playing with Trump, we're not going to do it. Don't take it seriously. We're just trying to, do what we can do here, to make it look good. I got a few prayer requests we should cover. I have a request for PM, Papa Mike, PM, Papa Mike, healing. Got a prayer request for RG, Romeo Girl, RG, Romeo Girl, RG. Prayer request is that RG would know God's will for this person and to retain info better. For RG, prayer request is that RG would know God's will for this person and to retain info better. Maybe that's memory or something. And then we have toss requests in the terms of an endless salad, tossed salad, endless. For the following people, there's 4 people. So apparently this person needs help with the spiritual warfare. The first one is for SM, Sierra Mike, SM, endless salad toss. For JH, Juliet Hotel, JH, Juliet Hotel, endless salad toss. MR, Mike Romeo, MR, Mike Romeo, endless salad toss. And DO, David Oscar, DO, David Oscar, toss, endless salad toss. So what's happening also, the European Union got a bill of almost $1 trillion, not quite, but almost, for its European Union defense. Poland's jacking up. They're spending 5% of their GDP. I think they're the only ones in NATO doing that. And the other countries are gearing up for war. Germany is taking over Volkswagen plants and using them to make military equipment. You know, the nations in general in Europe and NATO are beefing up for war. Now, this is Jeremiah 30, verse 11. He destroys all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. Now, how does this, that doesn't mean he kills all the people. How does he do it? Well, war is one way they do it. I imagine he's going to start fires there also, but war is one way. Be wars and rumors of wars as a birth pang. So, yeah, there's going to be wars. And they're beefing up because they're going to play wipeout with each other. They're drinking the cup of the wrath of the Lord, even though they don't want to drink it. It doesn't matter. They drink it. Okay, so you've got basically 2 postures taking place here. You have the beast. Oh, I believe Biden was with the beast, and I believe Trump is with the whore. The whore likes false churches. The whore likes a fake Israel that doesn't follow God. And the whore wants peace as long as the whore, Washington, D.C., the scripture tells us that's where it is. I'll read it to you. It's Revelation 17, the last verse, which is verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Well, that's Washington, D.C. It's not the beast in his temple that's not set up yet. It's not Moscow. It's not Beijing. It's not Rome. It's not Medina. It's not Mecca. Where do all the nations gather but in America, in New York, by the Hudson River, the UN building? They all come there. They come to America. That's the dominance. You see the dominance. They go to her. She doesn't go to them. So, what you see here in Revelation 17 is, well, we could read it. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Well, America sits on the Gulf of Mexico, which is now the Gulf of America, sorry, the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, the Great Lakes, 8,000 rivers, and probably about that many lakes. The Vatican's not sitting on any water. Mecca and Medina are in the desert of Saudi Arabia, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Now you got to remember, all the countries put their embassies in Washington, D.C. Okay? With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, spiritual fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Okay? They're drunk. They don't know what to do, and they're all acting crazy. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. No, that's not Satan, that's the beast. Now, when the woman's sitting on the beast, that means she's dominant over the beast. And the beast is serving her by carrying her around. The beast is subservient to the whore by carrying the whore around. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones, and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Fornication is worshiping other unclean spirits, not God. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Now let's stop and see if we could pin some things down about a name on a forehead or something, huh? Maybe we could go somewhere with this, right? Let's take a look. Well, you know about the Statue of Liberty, and it has something on the forehead, but I'll put it up on the screen. I'm not able to see any name there. That doesn't mean it's not there, hidden or somehow there, but I'm not seeing it, so I don't know. I can't say it's there because I can't see it, but I'm also not going to say I know it's not there because I don't know that either. Let me see if there's other pictures that reveal anything. I'm not so sure there are. You see, where we come across this thing to tie it together for you is, I'll show you, the Columbia Motion Pictures icon, which is the Statue of Liberty. And we'll get it up on the screen momentarily. Here it is. It's holding the light. Come to the light. I am the way. On a pedestal, elevated. It appears to be female, flat chested, very curious as to what message they're trying to send there. But I don't see any sort of a crown or something on the forehead either here. Um, so it's sort of interesting. But the name of this is Columbia. And what's the capital, the great city of America called? District of Columbia. It's actually not in any of the 50 states, which are represented by a pentagram on the flag. It's actually a city administered and run by the federal Congress. Well, that's very curious, and of course, that's a good indicator that this is the great city. And this city will get destroyed and burned in Revelation 18, as we can see very quickly. So there's another image of this, and it's the statue on the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And we'll take a look at that one and see if we see anything. This is it again, a flat-chested woman with a bird on the head, which is a demonic thing. And I really can't see any inscription on the forehead there either. There's a pentagram, or a few pentagrams up there, but that's about all I could see. I would say this is the same as Columbia. Yeah. I don't see much difference. So I can't come up with that, but it doesn't mean it's not there. But it's not represented in these graven images. Now, we see other things that are very suspicious in America. I'll show you one of them. It's not sharp enough image. Let me see. Let me try another search. The triangular portion at the top is called the Typhium. And it comes from Roman and Greek architecture, from their temples. But I'm trying to find a good picture of this triangular piece, which has graven images carved on it. And you'll see, I can't get a clear image, but you can see this is the U.S. Supreme Court building. There's the Typhium. And there's a woman image there, but we can't get the detail of that. And that's a Roman and a Greek temple design. And that's a place of worshiping the unclean spirits. Okay? And it's called the Supreme Court building. Now, we see another curious building that also is a temple to worship the unclean spirits. And that's called the New York Stock Exchange. Remember, it says daughter of Babylon is mad upon her idols. And I'll show you the same structure with the Typhium and everything else on the New York Stock Exchange. I worked there when for a summer job once when I was in college. You could see This is New York Stock Exchange, 11 Wall Street, and you could see there's a woman in there, and the graven image is up in the Tiffium. So it could be that there's, if we could get within a foot or so of that woman's statue, we might see something in her forehead. We just don't know. Trying to find somebody taking a picture of it with a telephoto lens and publishing it, it could be possible that something like that was done, but I've never seen it. So I'm not aware of what's up with that, I don't know. Okay, let's go back into Revelation. And the woman arrayed in purple, golden cup, verse 5, and upon her forehead a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast is carrying her, so she's dominating the beast. Hey, I want to go here, take me here, that kind of thing, like a horse or a donkey. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So the beast was here, went into the pit, and comes back out of the pit, and then winds up in the lake of fire, perdition. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Mountains are probably like a continent, and there's 7 continents, so she sits on all of them, which is the case now. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet to come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short time. And the beast that was and is not, and even he is the 8th, and of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the word for perdition is Greek number 684. It's a damnable eternity would be a good way of interpreting the word perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet. But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. So these 10 kings get power with the beast, but the beast is not yet up on the earth, that I could tell, because of Revelation 13, where John sees him come up out of the sea. I don't think he's here yet. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen. See, it says, many are called, but few are chosen. Here, it says, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen. So the ones with Yeshua are not just called. Many are called, but few are chosen. They're called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples. So the water represents peoples and multitudes and heathen nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make, these are kings, countries they run, I guess. They will hate her, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Well, we know America's burned with fire because God says he'll kindle fires in or about a city. We know that armies come in and kill them, and they're like caterpillars, which could be the sleeper agents. We know all this. What are the 10 nations? Well, we could only guess. You got, China, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, Belarus, Russia, Iran. That gives us 7, and probably Turkey, and I don't know. We're just guessing here. For God hath put, maybe Pakistan, maybe India, I don't know. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will. So they're going to do what he wants, destroy the daughter of Babylon, the whore, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Now, we roll into Revelation 18 and we read, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now, this is describing to us that the Babylon, the U.S., has become, a demon haunt. The demons are running the place. And I don't think a lot of you have trouble believing that with America. Look at all their demonic TV shows, their policies, their practices, their support of all churches, including the Satan Church, right? They get a tax-free status and everything else, just like a Christian church, just like a Buddhist shrine or any other crazy religion who work for America. You shall have no other gods before thee doesn't seem to register with America. So the place is spiritually a mess. I'll be right back. Just turn the TV on. Yeah.
I got it done, Kim, but my arm is tingling from my shoulder down. Oh.
Now, Trump stopped talking about the sleeper agents as soon as he took office. Before, he was talking about millions of these military-age males illegally in America, and then he just stopped talking about it. Why? Because it's a real problem. It's going to take him years to fix that, and that's one of the reasons he's scared. The nations are scared to unleash on Trump over America. I think the Air Force has 13,000 aircraft. That's huge. They have a massive amount of bombs and missiles. Aircraft carriers, missile cruisers, hundreds of boats, submarines that can launch missiles from under the water. I mean, they're scared. They want to do this to get rid of her, but it's scaring them because if it goes wrong, they could get put back into the dark ages. So they're scared. China is very cowardly. They're very much a bully and fearful and trying to make sure they have everything in their favor before they make a move. They're very, very fearful. Putin, not so much. Iran, not so much at all. North Korea, not so much at all. China, yeah. But they know that if they all come after her, Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea, they'll take her out. America can't sustain that. It can't. For all nations are drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. They get the nations to worship the demons that America worships, And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Well, Elon Musk is a prime example of that. So is Trump in the private sector. So are many other people. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues," or her hits. Okay? That's Jeremiah 50:51. Right on. "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her lawlessness. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double." She gets a double shot. How much, have you seen Trump behaving crazy? Or people saying he's out of control of what he's doing? He's talking about doubling tariffs now, He suspended the enforcement, I believe, of the Mexico-Canada tariffs. Now he wants to double them. He doesn't know what he's doing. I know people hate hearing that, but how much but he keeps bouncing around like a ping pong ball. How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. This is Isaiah 47, almost exactly, which says daughter of Babylon. Yeah, I'll read it to you. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee, as a man. As for our Redeemer, Jehovah of hosts, is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. You know, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thy hand. 6.5 million known Jews in Israel, in America, just about the same as in Israel, plus lost tribes and people that don't know they're Jews. Thou didst show them no mercy upon the ancient, hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And that's could be the North American Indians. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. I shall be a lady forever. Okay, back to Revelation 18. Verse 7, Revelation 18:7. How much she hath glorified. I better check the live stream. Hold on. So I've been fooled by them before. Let me make sure we're good. Yeah, we look good here. Let me just check for nasty comments and questions. Okay. Back. Verse 7, Revelation 18. How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. The plague words mean hit, like Pharaoh got the 10 hits. That's the more correct translation than a plague, okay? It hit. In one day, and it defines it: death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Now, this appears to be Washington, D.C. initially at the beginning burning. But it's also, I will kindle fires in and about her cities. Jeremiah 50:51. So it's not just Washington, D.C., but I think it starts there. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise, for no man, okay, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn. You know, this is Trump's talking about the merchants of the earth. He's putting tariffs on them because they're ripping America off, right? Okay. And they sell trillions of dollars into America. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble. And cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense, that's an herb, and wine and oil and flour and wheat and beasts. That could be various pets, right? And sheep and horses, you know, expensive racehorses, and chariots. What could that be? It could be cars, Rolls Royces, I don't know, Ferraris. And slaves and souls of men. Well, they used to have slaves, but that went away up until the 1800s, well into the 1800s. They had slaves until about 1863. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar. They were made rich by her by selling all this expensive stuff into America. Shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Now, they're standing afar off. They could be on the ground, because when you stand, you're not on water. Or they could be on ships, or both. And saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour, that's correct translation, 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught. So it happens so suddenly to America in an hour. That could be missile attacks, bombs attacks, it could be fire from the Lord, fire and brimstone. And every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off. So they were probably tied up waiting to unload at the different ports, which sometimes it could be a week or two wait. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads. They were mourning because they lost their marketplace, their wealth, their riches, everything, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city. Now we're back to Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, Columbia Motion Pictures icon, Statue of Liberty, woman on the roof of the Capitol, you get it? Wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and you holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. Well, it's the spirit that was probably, in the original Babylon that raked over Israel and took them into captivity. It's the same spirits, I believe. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, with violence, and shall be found no more at all. It's going to be like Damascus. It's not going to be there. We bombed Damascus last night. Israel did. There was a house that was one of these terrorist groups' command center. And we wanted to do a targeted strike on this big shot, but we blew the house up, but he wasn't in it. But it happens. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers, and of trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft whatever craft he be, shall be found any more. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. That throws back to Isaiah 47 with the millstones. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and saints, and of all that was slain upon the earth. So this is coming any day now. It should coincide with the day of vengeance, which should be just before the year of redemption starts. So I'd say we're due any time now. And it sure looks like it's stacking up, you know. Okay, I don't have any questions. So now we need to talk about blood moon, because the crooks, the false teachers, the false prophets are out there again with the blood moon. And they tell you there's been 30 something blood moons, but they're such liars. Their version of a blood moon is an amber colored moon, not the moon turning to blood. Is blood amber or red? It's red. Can it be crimson? Yes. Could it be fire engine red? Yes. Could it be amber, the color of wheat or corn? No. Okay, where does this all come from? Well, you know, you do it in Joel 2. We'll go there. It's picked up there. And let me get the first place we read this. I'm scrolling through to find the verse here. Okay, we pick it up in Joel 2:31. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. The great and terrible day of the Lord is Gog and Magog. But we're headed into Jacob's trouble, Zechariah 12 right now, the siege. And this happens just before Yeshua appears in the clouds. Then when we get finished with Gog and Magog and we're going towards the return of Yeshua to earth 70 years later, the second 70, not the appearing, the return to earth, then the moon goes dark, not the blood. The sun goes dark and the stars fall and don't give their light. Then that brings you to Revelation 19 when Yeshua returns. So there's a 70-year space between the blood moon, the moon turning to blood, and the stars falling. You know, the two things are different. The sun goes dark, the moon turns to blood. 70 years later, you have the stars fall, they don't give their light, and the moon goes dark, and the sun goes dark. Now, why do I say 70 years? Because when you read Daniel 9:24, in no Hebrew manuscript out of any and all of them going back to 900 AD does it say 70 weeks. The word is the same exact word, shavim, shavim, identical, and that means 70, 70. There's two 70s. The first 70 was the Babylonian captivity. The second 70 begins when the moon turns to blood and the sun doesn't give her light, and that's the beginning of redemption. Then there's this 70-year period which Israel has a great falling away and has to work out the problems, and then Yeshua returns to earth with New Jerusalem. This the church never teaches, but if you ever, I know you don't read Hebrew, but they're the exact same characters. And it doesn't mean weeks. There's no way in the world the word in Hebrew shavim means weeks. That's just, they're playing with the translation to give you another gospel, basically. So, Purim in Israel, by the way, is not such a nice holiday. They dress up, they made it into like Halloween, and they wear costumes. Not good. They don't trick or treat, but that's not a good thing. So they wanted to copy Halloween, so they put it on Purim. What are you going to do? All right, let me see what I didn't cover. Check my notes. Yeah, I think I've covered it up, covered what I needed to today. So you guys got to bear in mind, the beast is they're fighting for control, the beast and the whore, and the beast wants this war, wants to get rid of the whore system. Biden was with the whore and was trying to kill America. Trump's trying to rebuild America frantically and desperately. And the whore's trying to attack him. That's why Trump's trying to speak peace and not get involved in wars. He's scared. And that's the reality of it, you know. Trump has to purge his NSA, his CIA, his Pentagon, his Justice Department. Other agencies put his own people in, and they got to put their own people in turn so they can control and run the organization the way Trump wants these organizations run. So the blood moon is a one-off event. There's only one blood moon in the history of the world. It doesn't keep happening 30-something times. They write books about this. It's a lie. They're confusing you. They're trying to get you thrown off so you don't interpret correctly the sign of the blood moon with the sun going dark. They want you all screwed up. These are harvest moons, basically, what they're talking about, where the moon is closer to the earth and it appears larger and it's bright. But I've seen them. They're amber colored. They're not red. There it is. The church is at it again, you know. And the people fall prey to this. But don't fall to this. Okay, so basically that's what I got for today, and I hope it helped you, and we could just keep watching, which is what we're supposed to do, watch, and just wait as we get closer. It's very hard to tell how soon we're going to hit the appearing and redemption, because, you know, in the flesh, I want to say, oh, it could be weeks and weeks yet, you know, but in reality, it could be hours or days. So we don't know. We don't know. We just got to stay ready. I think it's going to be a summer day today, although it gets cold at night, I have to say. We're going to hit 85 today. 85. Yet we're going to go down to 61 at night. That's not so bad. I had to change my blanket last night and get rid of my winter blanket, which I really like. But it was too hot. And they're talking Thursday and Friday this week about rain, which is going to bring Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They might have something on this. I don't know. And they're talking about a cold spell for 3 days with highs going from 66 on Thursday down to 58 on Friday and Saturday. And then it moves back up again. So is this likely 3 days of rain? I don't know. They make mistakes frequently because the weather's so unusual here. I have no idea if it's going to do this or not. They talk about a cold front moving in. But when people listen to the weather, they think they're talking to a weather prophet or something, and they're not. And they can't outguess God, and they don't know what's going on. And they're only good with any, you know, they're good accuracy for 24 hours. And then 48 hours, not so great, but pretty good. But when you're going out 4 or 5 days, they fall apart pretty good, you know. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife, Rivka, for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. Please don't forget me for offerings. And pray for better videos, and we keep getting more questions answered. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I hope you get something out of this. Thanks.